These are the moments that separate the men from the boys, the heroes, the warriors from the cowards. And Manchester City fans have every reason to be a little bit concerned, but I do feel like the excessive panic, the pressing of that emergency panic button is a little bit forthright. It's a little bit presumptuous to think we're just going to collapse now because of the injury list. Now, I understand when you hear that injury list, I completely understand Manchester City fans, me included, you're going to feel a little bit squeaky bum time, a little bit panicky when you hear the names of like Savinho.
What?
Grealish.
No.
Doku.
No!
Rodri. And De Bruyne.
You gotta be kidding me. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is a little bit worrisome that those names are on the injury list, but you can even add a Kanji, Gvardiol to that list as well. It's concerning. Walker and Oscar Bob, of course, as well. Yeah, I get it. But we've done this before. We have been in situations like this. We've faced the tough times as Manchester City fans, and I don't think it's time to panic. You know, I'm seeing a lot of City fans turning on Cheeky as well. For some reason, it's Cheeky's fault that we've got 9 injured players. Apparently, it's our sporting director's fault. Apparently, you know. As if you can plan for 9 players being injured at one time. Yeah, that's your fault, Cheeky. Do you know, they're the same morons who will have been calling Cheeky out for signing Mateus Nunes, calling it a panic buy. What a waste of money. Why are we signing Mateus Nunes? Who are now celebrating the fact that every time he comes onto the pitch, he either scores or assists, completely ignoring the moronic statements that he was a panic buy. I think that's exactly what the problem is with these Manchester City fans. That it's just very knee-jerk reactions, and we need to recognise that there's a long history of evidence that Manchester City have come through times like this. We've ridden the storm. We've been in the eye of the storm, and we've come out of the other side smelling of roses with plenty of silverware to celebrate at the end of the season. It's looking difficult. Of course it is. But there's a little bit of an exaggeration about how serious it actually is, because I feel like we've got 3 very, very tough games to get through. You talk about Brighton, 3 games away. That's before the international break. That's going to be the toughest one. Really, really difficult game. Even with a fully fit squad, that's a difficult game. You know, there are no easy games anymore. They're all difficult in reality. Sandwiched in between tomorrow's game against Bournemouth is Sporting Lisbon as well, who will have a little bit of a point to prove to send Amorim off with a little bit of a pat on the back and thank you very much for his time before he becomes the Manchester United manager. So, yeah, I think we get through that, but then we can start to look after the international break at the players that are coming back. And you also don't forget Echeverry's coming back in January, so we're getting a new signing in January. One that's already pre-planned, ready-made. Thank you, Cheeky. Would be nice. You know, that was pretty good. Not a bad bit of business, and we'll see what he can deliver. You know, we can't hang our hats on him just yet. We need to see what he's all about, but I'm positive. I'm feeling excited about the signing of Echeverry. After the international break, we've got Walker, Grealish, Doku, and potentially De Bruyne as well, all coming back. 4 of the 9 players are coming back after the international break. So we need to ride this storm, weather it, get through it, and then 3 games later, 4 weeks later it will likely be, we will be going into the December period, the Christmas period, with a much fresher, fitter squad. And we don't know the severity of Savinho's injury or Akanji's injury. So there's another 2 added to that list of 4 that suddenly reduces 9 players to 3 players when you're being realistic about it. Gvardiol is one of those players as well. He's likely to start against Bournemouth. Akanji said he's ready for the next game. Savinho, because this video is being done before the Pep Guardiola pre-match press conference, we don't know how serious that is, with rumours suggesting it's not too bad. So Savinho could be back, maybe for the Sporting Lisbon game. I have a feeling he'll probably miss the Bournemouth game, considering he was stretched off and was quite a bit of pain, but we don't know the severity of it yet. So fingers crossed that's not too bad. And before you know it, you're talking about 2 key players in Rodri, who's out for the whole season, and we're back to Rodri and Oscar Bob. You know? 3 games later, you know, we've got to get through this, and that's what we do. And it just reminds me of that Ruben Diaz moment. That Ruben Diaz moment of the speech that he gave.
Now we've done it, and they think, oh, they're tired, and we want to do it again. And that's when we get big. That's when we get huge. We do it again and again and again.
I think all City fans can remember that. I remember it very, very well. What a moment that was in our season. And you know who that was? The speech before, where we were playing, we were away at Bournemouth. That was that speech, and that was the game, and we went and won that game 4-1. And this is the moment where we get big and we get fucking huge. I love it, Ruben Diaz, and that is the reason, because we have the mentality monsters in our squad. He will be leading the back line for Manchester City against Bournemouth. It's going to be difficult, it's going to be tough, but we have to support them and we have to believe that this team is going to do it. What's the point in being a fan if we have a little blip in the season? Imagine supporting the rest of the other. Pick another 19 out of the 20 Premier League clubs. They're all worse off than we are in terms of just what they have as resources. They're all worse off. We are the best in this league. And if you turn your back on this side because we're having a little blip, the whole season cannot be perfect. I remember so many City fans came to me last season with 10 games to go. Some of them coming out with statements like, oh, I'm giving Manchester City a 10% chance to win the title. Bollocks, mate. We went and won the league. What a load of rubbish. Those people crawled back under their rocks, and I don't even call them fans, to be honest, because there was zero support and zero logic behind their opinions. I don't mind that you're concerned. I don't mind that you're worried about it. It makes sense. I'm worried about it. It's not a simple situation for Manchester City to fix. But Pep Guardiola is the manager of this side, and we've got players like Ruben Diaz, who has that mentality, and numerous other players that can carry this side with a strong will and strong mentality to carry us through these games and get 3 points, international break, and we're off. You know, we're top of the Premier League right now. We're third in the Champions League table right now. We haven't even started FA Cup football yet. You know, we're 5 points ahead of Arsenal. We're 1 point ahead of Liverpool. We're all playing on the same day, Saturday, tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting game. I will be doing a watch long. Can you tell I'm a bit feisty? I'm a little bit fired up for this one, because this is the time when, like Ruben Diaz says, we get big. And as fans, we need to do the same. We need to support the team and get behind them. So come and support me and join me on Typical City, and we're going to watch this game and we're going to watch us beat Bournemouth, because we're going to fucking do it. Come on, Blues. We're absolutely going to do it, because we are their bogey team, don't forget, because we have won all 14 Premier League games against Bournemouth. We have an aggregate score of 45-7 against Bournemouth, which is a 100% record that is matched by no other side. No one has got as good a record, 100% record, as we have in top-flight English football history. So if we could have picked a fixture, going off historical fixtures at least, we'd have picked Bournemouth, because we always beat them. But you never know. You just never know in the Premier League. This game could prove to be the one game where Bournemouth finally turn up, and they've been playing very good football lately. We have to respect the fact that they've already beaten Arsenal. You know, the reason we're 5 points clear is because Bournemouth beat Arsenal. It was 10-men Arsenal, but it was a competent performance. They followed that up with a 1-1 draw away to Villa as well. So they are in form right now. We have to respect Bournemouth, the likes of Tavernier and Semenyo. You're just hoping you're not going to the Taverna to see what's on Semenyo. I'll get my coat. That was awful. Terrible joke. So, yeah. Ultimately, you have to respect Bournemouth. I think you've heard the injury news. If you haven't, where have you been? Because, yeah, I'm not going to go into the City team news because you've heard it already. But in terms of Bournemouth team news, Alex Scott, which is a big blow for them. He was missing against Aston Villa, and it sounds like a long-term spell out for Alex Scott as well. We're facing late fitness tests for Sinisterra, Kepa, the goalkeeper, of course, and Philip Billing, which, yeah, a much shorter list than our injury list. But, you know, you think about the players that we've got, and I would argue I'm more concerned about two particular players that are not injured right now. They are fully fit, raring to go, and they are not playing well. I'm more concerned about them than I am the injury list, to be honest, for Manchester City. That's a much bigger concern for me, because these are two players that you can hang your hat on. Right, let's get into the predicted starting 11, starting with Bournemouth. So we'll whip through them. I think it's Kepa in goal. You're going to see Kirkez at left-back. Quality left-back, by the way. He's growing as a player. He is. He's getting better and better the more I see him. Senesi in centre-back with Zabani alongside him. Julian Araujo at right-back. And with the likes of Alex Scott out, you're probably going to see Ryan Christie coming in to midfield alongside Lewis Cook in defensive midfield. Tavernier. See what's it? I'm not going to do it again. I can't do that joke again. It's too poo. It's too rubbish. Dango Ouattara, right wing. And where is Semenyo? What's on Semenyo? Because I can't find Semenyo. There's Antoine Semenyo. Lovely name. And who goes up top? Could be Enis Unal, former Manchester City graduate. Starting to play quite well for them as well. But I think it will be their record signing, scored the equaliser against Villa, Evan Nielsen. Manchester City. I think this is one of the easiest 11 I've ever predicted because of the injury list. So I think it will be Ederson in goal. Akanji is supposed to be fit, but I'm going to go with John Stones and Ruben Diaz alongside Gvardiol, who I'm hoping is okay. I think he's okay. But again, we've got options. We could play Nathan Ake. So couldn't be the end of the world if Gvardiol is injured. Reports suggesting he's not, and he should be okay for this game. So I'm going to go with Gvardiol. In front of them, Rico Lewis and Kovacic, of course, alongside him. In front of them, this is the one player that's showing, one of the two players that's concerning me greatly, is İlkay Gundogan. His form has been nothing short of well below the standards we are expecting of Gundogan, and it's gone beyond that now for me for Gundogan. We're now talking about just generally Premier League standard. It's below that. He's below what we expect from a central midfielder in the top 10 teams in the Premier League right now. The basics are not happening for İlkay Gundogan. He needs to improve. He needs to bang down the hatches, get on with it, and improve. And I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is. But passes, 10-yard passes, just going out for throw-ins, giving it away. A simple 10-yard ball to John Stones against Spurs, gives it away to Timo Werner, and we were lucky it wasn't 2-0 at that point. It did become 2-0, but it was hooked off at half-time, and rightly so. Phil Foden is the other player that I think needs to absolutely improve for Manchester City. But because of the form that he's playing in right now, I would like to see him go back on that right wing, because I think Bernardo Silva has played better than Phil Foden this season. Phil Foden has not delivered at all, which is a shame. I feel like he can come back, as can İlkay Gundogan. Of course they can. We know what they're capable of, but Phil Foden is bang out of form right now, and I feel like he's less of a threat in the middle and could do more damage on the right side. Whereas Bernardo Silva, I think he's been playing a lot better since he's been inverted back into that midfield central role. He's playing better in that position. So I want to see him in that position at the expense of Phil Foden, who I think will go on the right. I actually don't think that will happen. I think it will be the other way around. But this is what I want to see. I want to see Phil Foden on the right. But I actually think Bernardo Silva will end up being shoved out onto the right and wasted out on the right. But Phil Foden and İlkay Gundogan together, they need to up their game. And on the left, the panic buy. Where is that panic buy that seems to score every bloody week? Matheus Nunes. There he is. The cheeky signing that everyone hated. And now we all love him, don't we? Isn't it funny? Isn't football a fickle old game? And of course, Erling Haaland up top. And that team should beat Bournemouth. It should beat Bournemouth. It won't be easy. It won't be difficult. I would have no problem with seeing Gundogan dropped and see McAtee come in. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think that could work. I think McAtee is showing glimpses of quality. It could be a little bit braver at times. I think that's coming with the fact that he's, young and a little bit nervous. The pressure of playing for Manchester City. It's a heavy shirt to wear nowadays as a Manchester City player. And I felt like he was okay against Spurs, and I feel like we could see him play maybe instead of Gundogan. I wouldn't object to that either. I wouldn't, if Akanji's fit, I wouldn't object to seeing Rico Lewis, who's not been playing that great lately, and seeing John Stones come in there and Akanji go to the right side of centre-back. So you could see something like this as an alternative for Manchester City. And again, that side could beat Bournemouth. So I've just made 3 changes there in terms of positions and players, and showcasing that we have players on the bench that can come on and do some damage. Yeah. Am I glazing over it a little bit, potentially? Am I being a little bit too optimistic, a little bit too much of a half-glass full type guy? Because, 9 injuries is serious business, and Manchester City do have problems. But there's no reason to write the season off and panic. I'm going to go 2-1 Manchester City, a close game that I think we will edge out Bournemouth eventually. I hope we can get a 2-goal lead and then control the game for the majority of the game. I would love nothing more than a clean sheet, though. I think it would be absolutely so vital to the defenders, because we have got a pretty strong defence still. It's pretty much on the wings where we're struggling right now, but I'm going to go 2-1 Manchester City. What is your predictions? Don't forget to come and join me for the watch along tomorrow. 3 o'clock kickoff here in the UK. What a moment this is for our season. So important for Manchester City. If we can maintain the gap that we currently have, we are in big, big business here. We can go and win our 5th Premier League title in a row. But what do you believe? Get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up Silva.